Hey you guys, so for today's video, I am going to be basically updating you guys on what it's been like not receiving PR. This is a question I've been getting a ton lately. You guys have been DMing me lots about it. And when I initially put out that video, I had a lot of questions as well, just like about how I talk to brands about it and all that kind of stuff. So I asked you guys what your specific questions were on Twitter, so I'm gonna be going through that. But before we get started, I just wanted to quickly say, please don't use this video as an opportunity to talk poorly about any of the other members of our community. We don't know what people do behind closed doors. We don't know what people are doing to help or be more conscious. You guys only see one side of people, and it's not necessarily indicative of who they are, all the time. So in the same way that some people are now calling me like eco-conscious and stuff like that, well, the only thing that you know about me for sure is that I've stopped receiving PR. You don't know what I'm doing in my house, all that kind of stuff. The choice that I made is very specific to me for a lot of reasons, and I don't expect or think that everyone should be doing exactly what I'm doing. It's just what made the most sense for me, and that's it. Okay, I'm gonna fill up your guys' questions and let's jump into it. Okay, so one of the most frequent questions that I got was people asking how I told brands that I no longer want to receive their PR packages. I've had a few influencers actually reach out to me about this as well, and they were like, I don't want to seem like a brat or like I'm ungrateful or whatever. My managers just basically contacted all the brands that I was on a PR list for, and they basically just said, like Sam loves you guys, loves your brand, but she's decided to no longer receive PR just due to her stance on waste, and just that I would continue to support their brand just through, purchasing the new launches myself, and then just basically said, please remove her from your PR list, and we look forward to talking more and working together in the future. So, I think the biggest thing for me and for my managers contacting them, it was just basically emphasizing the fact that it's not that I don't care about these products, because obviously I love makeup, it's my job. It's just that I don't need absolutely everything from a launch, and I'll get more into that later. But a ton of people also asked what brands responded like, if they were, receptive to it, if they were kind of like, oh, what the fuck, or what. Everybody that responded back super lovely. Almost all of them were just like, thanks so much for letting us know, we'll update. I had a lot of brands actually reach out to me and kind of pat me on the back and say this is so awesome, so cool of you, and we're looking to change our mailers, and we think it's a problem as well. Tons of brands said to me if there's anything that you ever want, we're happy to send it in minimal packaging. And then there was a ton of brands that just didn't respond, which is typical. A lot of people also asked me if I would choose to start receiving PR when brands decide to come up with more eco-friendly mailers, or if brands were willing to send to me, in minimal packaging. For me, I don't plan on going back to accepting PR, just because the packaging waste is only one part of the waste issue. At the end of the day, when a launch comes out, I just don't know many people who would look at the entire range and say, yes, I actually want every single part of that. So for me, when a launch comes out, let's say there's 4 lipsticks and an eyeshadow palette and 3 blushes and 2 highlights. I might get 1 of those highlights, 1 of those blushes, 2 of those lipsticks. You know what I mean? So I don't have any intentions of accepting PR again in the future, but I did definitely just find it really, comforting that brands were so chill about it and so nice. Someone asked if the PR has actually stopped completely, if brands have listened to me to stop sending me PR or not. I would say that I still am receiving a little trickle of packages, maybe 3 to 4 packages a week kind of thing. So right when we sent out the email to everyone saying hey, please stop sending packages, a few brands responded being we're so sorry, we just sent out a package, so she'll be getting that, but after that, we won't. So a lot of people have ceased mailing. There are a few brands that have still kind of sent things through. It's just tricky because a lot of brands do their PR through agencies. So it's kind of tricky because if you're in contact with the brand or you're in contact with the agency and lines are getting crossed and people just aren't passing the message along, there's just gonna be a few brands that we're gonna have to keep kind of reaching out to and be like, hey, please stop. So basically, as packages are coming in, I'm just writing down the brands that I'm still getting stuff from so that we can send a follow-up message. A lot of people are asking, kind of branching off one of the other questions, if I was worried about this damaging my relationship with brands. I was maybe 20% worried about it. I wasn't feeling like this was going to destroy my relationship with brands, because I do try really hard to connect with brands the same way that I want to connect with you guys and anyone else in my life. And because of that, I would hope that my relationship with brands isn't reliant upon me just receiving free product from them, you know what I mean? So as far as I know, it hasn't destroyed any relationships. It certainly feels like it's been totally fine and everyone's response has been great. So I think it's gonna be okay, but not 100% sure. Patreon starting up next month. Okay. Someone said, what are you gonna do with all this extra space? And I tweeted back a photo of this. Someone asked if I find it more difficult to create content so frequently when I don't have new products coming through on a regular basis. And somebody also asked what was something unexpected to happen from no longer receiving PR, and this is like the same answer. The most unexpected thing was that I actually find it easier to be more creative with my content now. I feel like when I was regularly receiving PR, there was just so much product overwhelming all the space in my beauty room that I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna do a try on of new products, or I'm just gonna review this product or whatever. So it was like my channel was just turning into nothing but try on, and like review. There was no content that had to do with anything other than buy this. And I sort of felt like I couldn't get out of that headspace of like only wanting to talk about new products. So now that I haven't been receiving products as frequently, the first couple weeks I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, what am I going to film? But I feel like it's really made me start kind of looking to, you know, what do I want to actually talk about? Now that I don't need to review every single thing that's showing up my front door, and now that I don't have a ton of products every single week to talk about that are new, what do I care about? What do I actually think about this makeup? What do I actually want to talk about and educate people on? And so I feel like that's led to my videos being a lot more educational, I mean, you tell me, and a lot more creative with, you know, trying to use up old product, trying to talk about the product more in different ways rather than just like, yeah, it's good, I'd recommend it or I wouldn't, you know? And I think that's the thing that was most unexpected for me, because I was really, really worried that when I went off PR that I was gonna be so behind on reviews that my channel would drop off quite a bit. Unfortunately, the nature of social media is that you have to kind of be the first one on it or the early one on it. And if you're not, then people really don't give a shit. But I'm just really hoping that people are, you know, with things like reviews and stuff like that, I'm hoping that people are willing to be patient if they wait for my reviews, because I'm not going to be getting the products as early. So my reviews won't be out as early. Someone asked if I've regretted it at all. I haven't, no, not yet at least. I think the biggest thing is that I am in a position where I'm financially able to, you know, pick up these launches myself, and I'm very lucky and very grateful to be in that position. So the only thing that would really make me regret it is if it had had really adverse effects on my relationship with brands or my content for you guys in a way that you didn't enjoy. But I don't feel like that's been happening, and ultimately, you know, this decision is more in line with what I want to be like moving forward, what I want my content to look like moving forward, what I want to be mindful of, all that kind of stuff. Someone said, if influencers aren't willing to give up PR completely, how do you recommend them being more sustainable? This isn't just an influencer problem, guys. It's a world problem. There's so many ways to be more sustainable that are really, really simple. Of course, you can go look all that stuff up online, but my big thing is trying to cut down on single-use plastic right now. So a big one for that is constantly ordering takeout and stuff like that. We produce so much waste doing that. Also going to the grocery store and using plastic shopping bags or produce bags that are plastic. So I have reusable produce bags, I have reusable shopping bags, all that kind of stuff. I try not to ever use water bottles. If I can, I usually try to carry around like a reusable water bottle. It's really such a long battle, and I think the thing is, like, it's hard to get people excited about it because it's not the most fun topic. And every single person is different. That's why I say, like, this choice is not me trying to be holier than thou and everyone else sucks and they're the shittiest fucking influencer. It's literally just, this is what works for my life. I'm not saying that it's gonna work for everybody. So when it comes to sustainability, I really think it's important for people to not focus on being perfect, but focusing on doing the things that are actually realistic for their lifestyle. We're all guilty of it. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is not very sustainable, but if we're all being a little more conscious of it, I think, you know, that's the first step, baby. So obviously a really common question I was asked is how much I have been spending on makeup since I have gone off PR. So in the past 2 months, I've spent $3,273 on makeup. It's hard to say how much that is in comparison to how much I was spending before, because honestly, I was still buying a lot of makeup even before, but I do find myself, having to pay more attention to launches coming out and stuff like that and trying to run in and grab it when I can. So a lot of people have asked me, if I'm worried about this becoming a financial burden and stuff like that. Yes, it is expensive, but for me, it just comes down to like a pros and cons list. Receiving PR is cheaper in some ways, but I was still spending money to have all my garbage hauled away. I was spending money on duties and import fees on top of still buying my own makeup sometimes. And then we have buying all my own product, which means way less waste and maybe a higher bill, but it's still all tax write-offs at the end of the day for me. People have been asking me how I feel like this has changed my shopping habits, if at all. I definitely feel like I am not, in general, I never have been a very big online shopper. I don't like waiting. I don't like the waste that it creates. And also being in Canada, it costs just exorbitant amounts for shipping, and it takes way longer to get to our front doors than it does for people shopping and living in the States. So I do find myself, heading over to Sephora quite frequently. But I think the thing that's fun about it is that let's say no brand knew about me until today, and then they all added me to their PR list right now. Well, I would start receiving product from now on, which would be all of their new launches. But all of these brands have like a huge range behind them already of products that I may not have tried. And so I find that what's kind of fun and like cool about it is that I'm almost getting to rediscover all of these brands and all of these products that I haven't tried, just because I was receiving so much PR that there were certain things that I would grab if I wasn't on that PR list, or if I needed backups of it, or if it was just a product that hadn't been sent out or whatever. But now I feel like I'm really spending a lot of time like looking at each brand's display or trying to figure out like what is there from their line that like I'm intrigued by and I'm excited by. And I think that it's making me a lot more appreciative of my collection in general, and appreciative of the makeup that I do buy, because I felt like when I was receiving that much PR, makeup was of no value to me, truly. It literally just felt like a mound of plastic to me. Like none of these things, I had no attachment to it. I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't worried about making sure I was gonna use it up. But now I kind of feel like I get really excited to go makeup shopping. When I'm shopping around, I get really amped about a certain product, and I get amped to go home and try it. Whereas before, even makeup that I was buying myself, I would buy it, and I have this like section of my desk where it's like this big acrylic case, and I would put all my products in there that I was like meaning to try basically. And stuff that I bought myself, stuff that was sent in PR, would literally just sit in there for months. And a lot of the times I wouldn't even end up touching or like trying at all product that I had bought myself. I would just kind of put it into my collection somewhere and like forget about it. So I do find that because I don't have as much product, I'm spending more time being like, ooh, I picked up that new eyeshadow palette. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna play with it a little. You know what I mean? Like I'm diving back into my own collection more, which just feels really like good for me. And honestly, I feel like it's making me so much more passionate about makeup again, because I'm not just focused on like, okay, I have to get this review up, I have to do this, I have to do that. I'm not seeing these things as just like products to push through kind of thing to get it over with. I'm seeing them as like textures and colors and all that kind of stuff again. The only thing that's kind of tricky is that living in Canada, products do come to Canada quite a bit later than they do for America. So I'm not only not receiving it in advance, but I'm also not even able to get it until quite a bit later than America. So that's kind of the only tricky thing that I've noticed in regards to, makeup shopping and all that kind of stuff. Someone asked, do you feel left out with certain PR packages that other gurus receive? Not really. I do, in general, like I really do just kind of stick to myself. Like I don't spend a ton of time on my phone. I don't spend a ton of time on YouTube watching other people's videos or going through people's Instagram stories and stuff. I try to check in to make sure I know like what's going on in my community, but I'm not paying a ton of attention to it, to be honest. I think the only thing is that sometimes I still catch myself like seeing someone open a PR pack and you'd be like, oh, I'm so excited to try that, and then being like, oh, it's not coming. But I do really feel like, sorry, this is such a rambly video. I'm just getting all my feelings out there. I do feel like I get more excited about launches than I did before, because I'm actually having a chance to use the launches. And in a way, I feel more like how I used to feel as a consumer, which it's really easy, being in the position that I am, and I'm sure a lot of other influencers probably feel this way as well. I always felt like I hadn't lost touch. Like I felt like I know what it's like to be a consumer. I used to buy product too. I used to do this, I used to do that. But you don't realize, because it's such a gradual transition into what your life looks like now versus what it used to look like, you don't realize how much you really truly have lost touch and how much things have changed. Because I felt like I just was bored and I wasn't really that passionate about makeup anymore, and I didn't want to do my makeup anymore. And I didn't really care about all this shit and all these products and whatever. But it literally was just that my life was so overwhelmed by products and feeling like I needed to churn out reviews and I needed to churn out try-ons so that I was using the products, that you guys were seeing what you wanted to see, so the brands were seeing it, so that whatever, like I was working through this stuff so that I could put it away and just like get it decluttered. I didn't realize how much that was, you know, consuming me in so many different ways, to the point where it actually really led me to not enjoy my job as much. Someone asked, have your opinions about certain products changed now that you're no longer receiving PR? My opinions about products I have already tried haven't changed at all, but I do feel like I'm a lot more conscious of pricing. It sounds crazy, but like when this stuff was just showing up at my door, there was really no reason beyond, you know, trying to be conscious for you guys, for me to look up the cost of things. There were certain products that like obviously I knew, you know, like that Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath were exorbitantly priced, but there were a lot of products that I just kind of used and they were just so kind of seamlessly implemented into my collection that I didn't think to ever look up the price of it. And then sometimes when people would comment being like, oh, like I really love this product, you keep mentioning it, but it's just so expensive, you know, it just wasn't as easy for me to be more conscious about pricing because I wasn't buying, you know, a lot of that stuff myself. So I don't feel like my opinion has changed, so to speak, but I do just feel like being more conscious of, you know, the cost of things has been helpful in that, you know, I can kind of determine like, is this really that good of a deal? Is the product good for that price point? And it's also really amplified my feeling towards drugstore brands. Drugstore is just so fucking expensive in Canada. I cannot believe it. And it's not that there aren't like good drugstore brands, because there totally are. And like there's products that I use and like from drugstore. That's something that's crazy to me. I'll forever be dumbfounded by the price of drugstore products. Someone asked, do I feel out of touch or like I'm behind on new releases? Of course, again, as I've mentioned, I'm in Canada, so I am gonna be a little bit behind on new releases no matter what. I feel maybe a little bit out of touch, but frankly, I always feel out of touch with the community. Like I mentioned, I'm just not super like up to date with YouTube and stuff like that. So that's something I'm probably gonna have to focus on more this year, is just, you know, paying more attention and making sure I'm checking out people's videos and seeing what's new. And I did request, you know, when we were reaching out to brands initially, for them to send me like press releases on what they have coming out kind of thing, so that I can sort of keep my finger on the pulse as much as I can. But so far I feel like because I'm trying to change the direction of my channel a little bit, I'm hoping that it won't be as big of a deal, because I'm not going to be relying so heavily on only talking about new launches. Someone said, how do you feel about your friends in the YouTube community still receiving PR regularly? Don't care. Again, like it's not about my opinion of other YouTubers or anything like that. It's literally just me looking in my house, seeing how much waste I'm creating, and me trying to be responsible for my actions and my, you know, contributions. Someone said, if there's a launch you're particularly into, are you able to reach out for it, or do you think you'll just wait? If it's a launch I'm into, then I'm more than happy to just buy it myself. That's what you guys do. That's what I want to do. It's so funny. I was at a lunch with a brand the other day, and they were like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do when new stuff comes out and you want it? And I was like, purchase it. Someone said, do you think this will affect your sponsorships at all? So as I mentioned in my first video about this, I am still going to be accepting products for sponsorship considerations. So that's for, you know, a brand actually reaching out, wanting to pay me to talk about a specific launch. So the way that I kind of like to operate with stuff like that is a brand will usually reach out. They'll be like, hey, this is our new launch, or this is the product that we're wanting you to focus on. This is the budget. This is what we want you to do. This is how we want you to do it, blah, blah, blah. Negotiate back and forth. I usually ask them to send the product out while we're negotiating so that I can start trying it. Then I get the chance to kind of try it, you know, for a while before we actually would move forward with the sponsorship. So it leaves me enough time where I'm able to suss out the product before creating the content for them. So that's the only time that I'll still be receiving product from brands. And it's just simply because oftentimes for sponsorships, it's about products that aren't actually out yet or even announced sometimes. So that would be where I would still have to receive product. But in that scenario, I'm just going to request for it to be sent in minimal packaging. Someone said, are there any brands you miss getting PR from? Of course. When I was writing out the list of like brands, like I was just trying to remember off the top of my head, like, okay, like what brands do I receive PR from? I was writing them all down. I was like going through my collection, trying to like fill in the blanks of anything that I forgot. And when I was writing them down, I was like starting by writing all the brands that I was like, oh, I don't use their products often, or people aren't really as interested in their products. And then at the end of the list, I was like, Natasha Denona and like Hourglass. Like it was just, there was a lot of brands that I was like, oh fuck, this is so sad. Because at the end of the day, you know, it was an accomplishment for me to be able to be on the radar for these brands to the point where they would send me stuff. And it did feel really cool, and there was still products that I was excited about and brands that I love, and there were cases where I would receive PR that would be product that I wouldn't normally buy myself, but I ended up really liking. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind when I go shopping. Like even if it's something that I'm like, no, I wouldn't like that, I try to kind of like give the products a feel, swatch them, suss it out kind of thing, so that I can say, okay, maybe I'll pick it up just because I might end up liking it, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to miss it. There's so many brands that I work with that I just love, and they send out like just the nicest packages and stuff like that. There was also, oh my God, you guys, this makes me want to die. There were a lot of brands that actually reached out to me after the PR video. It's so depressing. Like just brands that I've used for like years and talked about loving, and like they've never talked to me, never reached out to me, never sent me anything. And then after that PR video, they sent me an email or like a DM being like, hey, we saw your no PR video. We thought that was so great. We know you're a fan of the brand. We wanted to send you this. And I'm like, really? I regretfully decline. So I am kind of interested to see how, you know, things change in terms of connecting with brands when I don't get a chance to kind of start the relationship by receiving PR. You know, it's tricky for that because I'm like, ooh, like this is gonna be kind of interesting to see like the transition of how I'm going to connect with new people. All in all, it's all good because even the brands that I, you know, really love or, you know, I'm gonna miss their PR, they're brands that I love for a reason, and I'm more than happy to just go buy the products. Someone said, why aren't you taking any? How do you make money if you have to spend it to buy products? So the first part of that question, and this was something that people asked a lot, they were like, well, why don't you just stay on some brand's PR list that you really love or whatever? I considered that for a while, but ultimately I just felt like the reality of social media is that you always have to, you know, be conscious of people's perception of what's going on. So for instance, if I had said to you guys, you know, I'm going off all of these PR lists, but I'm staying on these ones, immediately there would be people that would be like, oh, cool, so you don't fucking care about those brands. And I didn't want it to be something where, you know, you guys thought that I was partial to a specific brand because I was still receiving PR, or, you know, weird about a certain brand because I wasn't receiving PR, because that was something that was already kind of taking place. You know, people felt like, well, she did a sponsorship with them 2 months ago, so of course she loves this new product. Or, you know, brands that people knew I wasn't getting PR from, people would be like, well, you always hate their products because you're not on their PR list and you're just jealous. Like just stuff like that. I really didn't want to muddy the waters with people's perception of something they know nothing about. So I just felt like overall it was going to be a lot simpler to just say no to everything. Because again, the only reason I would want to stay on certain brands' PR list is because I love that brand and because I love their products. And if I love that brand and I love their products, I'm gonna buy it. And then the second part of that question was, how do you make any money if you have to spend it to buy products? Again, I'm in a position where I'm financially stable to do so, and I'm lucky for that. Whereas there's other content creators that aren't there yet, and it is very, very, very difficult to get your channel off the ground if you're not able to receive PR, because when I started, I could not have afforded to do this. I just couldn't have. And it is important. Like, it's a huge part of being able to grow by being able to get out reviews quickly and talking about products that are hot and new. So I'm in a position of privilege where, you know, my channel is stable and I'm making money from it. And I'm lucky enough that I have relationships with brands where I'm able to be considered for sponsorship opportunities and stuff like that. I had a ton of people ask, like, why I don't just do giveaways or, you know, donate it or whatever. This chick, oh God, when I posted my first video, there was this girl that like did a whole video talking about me, and she was like, wow, she really thinks she's like a special snowflake for donating. She mentioned it like 5 times, and someone commented being like, well, Samantha is a special snowflake. And I was like, you a real one, baby. I was donating like a large percentage of my products before I went off PR, or, you know, like giving them to friends, giving them to family, whatever. And sometimes, like, you know, subscribers coming over to my house and stuff like that, I would make sure that I loaded them up with product for them and their family and their loved ones and their cousins twice removed and whoever else. Literally anyone who walked in my front door, I was like, FedEx guy, you have a wife, you kids, you like wearing makeup, whatever. Do you want some? Lip balm? Foundation, highlight, no? Okay, great. The thing with donating is that it still doesn't cut down on waste at all. So as much as, you know, it could be argued that like, well, you're putting it to a good place and stuff like that, it doesn't cut down on the waste. It doesn't change the fact that a lot of the products that we get in PR just simply like they aren't applicable for donations. I think it's really hard for people to see through, you know, how grateful they would be to receive all these products for the reality of like who's actually using this. Because if I was to transfer all of the PR lists from my name to yours, at first you'd be like, fuck yes. And you'd be so popular. But there would come a time where you'd be like, oh, I'm not able to use these 24 metallic glittery liquid lipsticks. Over time, you would realize just how much waste it was truly creating and how much you just physically cannot in your lifetime work through that much makeup. When you take these things to a women's shelter, they want mascara, they want foundation, they want concealer. If you're showing up with massive fake eyelashes or, you know, a neon colored eyeshadow palette, it just, in many cases, nobody's really using that or wanting that, so it just is what it is. Someone said, Tati constantly talks about the waste of PR packaging and the amount you guys get, and that brands are starting to slowly cut down. Do you regret your decision because of that? No. That's what I want. So if brands start to cut down, if they start to do more eco-friendly packaging, if they start to send out way less of a launch or ask people, you know, what specific products they'd want rather than sending out all of them, then perfect. Mission accomplished. That's what I'm looking for. Oh, right. Fuck, I forgot to answer people saying, why don't you send it out for giveaways? How do I say this? Shipping from Canada to different parts of the world is exorbitantly expensive. And honestly, I have witnessed very few giveaways go off without a hitch. I love the idea of giveaways. I think giveaways are fantastic and it's a really fun way to interact with your subscribers and stuff. But it would be just ridiculously expensive for me to, you know, receive this product, pay the duties and imports to get it, and then I'd be creating even more waste by still receiving this PR and then getting more stuff to ship it out, more stuff for packaging it, spending the money to actually ship it to you for you to open it up and be like, this isn't my foundation shade. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not realistic. And as I mentioned in my original video, PR was taking up ridiculous amounts of time in my life, and I would just be adding to that time by having to sort through, get in contact with someone, get their address, go to the post office, package this stuff correctly, ship it off to you, send you your tracking thing, go back and forth with people who think that the giveaway was a scam or it wasn't true or it wasn't real, and then someone didn't get their giveaway winnings, and then now they're messaging me and they're upset and they think that I'm a liar, and like, you know, it's just like that would be so much stress for not accomplishing at all what I was trying to accomplish. If you guys have followed me for a while, you know I'm not huge on giveaways. I don't do them very often, and when I do, I prefer to do it through a brand. So I'm contacting a brand being like, hey, I love these products, or, you know, I want to do a giveaway with this, and the brand will be the one to reach out to you because they have teams set up to send product to you and do that all properly and seamlessly and whatever. Someone said, do you feel like you made the right decision? Are you happier? Yes. Someone said, do you feel that this is a good question. They said, do you feel that your subscriber base allowed this decision to be easier for you than it would be for other influencers who rely more on reviews than other content? Yes, I do actually. I think that there are channels that just basically do reviews back to back, and so they might have a hard time kind of adjusting, but I do really feel like, For the most part, a lot of you guys are here for me. At least I hope so. I remember when I was kind of like starting out in this industry, I was maybe like 20 or something like that. And I remember talking to the owner of this one brand, and we had become like pretty good friends and stuff. And then I remember him the one day saying to me, he was like, Sam, like, get your head out of your ass. These people don't fucking care about you. They're not looking out for you. They're not looking out for your best interest. They don't want to be your friend. And I was like, well, I'll choose to be ignorant to that then. Because for me, the most rewarding part of, I feel like I'm getting misty-eyed. The most rewarding part of social media for me is that I feel like I'm able to, I'm so emotional right now, I don't know why. I feel really grateful to you guys and to brands and to myself for the fact that I'm able to make a living being myself and talking honestly and genuinely and making mistakes and growing up with you guys and in front of you guys. I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of continuing to make decisions that I feel like align with me and my values, rather than, you know, just being a business decision or just being what would help me the most financially. So I'm really, I'm just really like super proud and grateful of the community that we have here. And I just really feel so lucky, and I felt so happy by the response to my last video talking about this decision and how people were just so lovely and kind about it and just really like rooting for me and excited for how this would change things, rather than being like, oh, well, that was fucking stupid of you. There were people that were just like, that was dumb and that wasn't a good decision, and you know, thinking that I was ungrateful or whatever. But for the most part, everyone was just dope, can't wait, let's see where it goes. So yeah, I definitely feel like, you know, just the nature of my subscriber base really made it a super like seamless, easy, not scary transition. Someone asked, do you feel a little more clarity? 100% yes. In terms of like trying to do this for mental health reasons, I feel like it has just made me so much less stressed. I feel like I have so much more time to do the things that I need to do and want to do. I know it sounds ridiculous, you guys, but you just can't imagine how much time you spend dealing with PR when you are on that kind of level of receiving PR. So yeah, I definitely do feel like I've received some clarity. Someone said, do you think a lot of other YouTubers are starting to speak up and brands are actually listening? I think there's been a lot of influencers that have been speaking up for quite some time. And to me, like, I know that there's a lot of people being like, well, why don't you just go off PR then? I don't think that they have to do that. It is a huge, it's a huge change and like a huge financial burden to decide to go off PR. And so I don't blame anybody that wants to stay on PR. I think if they are just voicing their opinions and saying, hey, like this waste is a little getting out of hand, I think that that's perfect. Like they're still using their platform in a really great way. They're still kind of getting the message out there in a way that works for them and is suitable for their lifestyle and suitable for what they're willing to commit to as well. Because I think that the issue that I see with a lot of, you know, causes is that people want everyone to commit to a cause 100%. Like if you're vegan, you have to be vegan across the board at all times with your cleaning products, with your makeup products, with your food, like with, and it's just like, that's not realistic for everybody. And it's not realistic at the beginning, especially. A lot of people's goals are to eventually get to a place where they're 100% committed to a cause, or as close to 100% committed as one can be. But when you are in a society that is so much bred on the fact that we do use single-use plastic, we do use animal products, we do use products that aren't cruelty-free. You know, there's so much that it's like, it's literally just, it's the nature of our world. It's really, really, really hard for so many reasons to change something about how you live or how you eat or what you buy or whatever. So I think that any step in the right direction is great, even if that just means you talking about it, because at the end of the day, people like Tati and stuff like that talking about it, she has a huge, huge, huge following. She gets incredible engagement. She has a ton of people viewing her videos, and she has a lot of brands watching her as well. And so at the end of the day, like her not going off PR, who cares? She's still talking about it. She brings up the issue consistently. Yeah, I think that there are maybe have been more people talking about it frequently, because as soon as a few people are, you know, chiming in about something, other people feel more comfortable doing the same. Someone said, don't be selfish, give them away to shelters or do giveaways for your loyal followers. We addressed that. Thank you so much for your involvement in the conversation. Is your trash/recycling company worried about you and your sudden decrease in box disposal? Yeah, they reached out. They were like, hey, you doing okay? We know you struggle with mental health. So you guys, that's it for me. Hopefully I answered your guys' questions. And if I didn't, you can ask them in the comment section below. Okay, thanks so much guys. I'll see you next time. Peace out.